Hey, what's up guys? Another knife review for you today. Today we're talking about the Spyderco Manix 2. There's a lot of different versions of the Spyderco Manix. You know, they made a lightweight version, by the way. One of my only, I wouldn't even say complaint because it's just preference, but this knife comes in at 5 ounces, and one of the only things I have to say about it is that it feels all of its 5 ounces. It actually feels to me like it weighs a little more. But, you know, if weight's a concern for you, they actually make a lightweight version of this, which only weighs 3 ounces. And they use, instead of the G10 scales, I'm not sure any other design changes, but I know they use an FRCP material, which is like it's like a translucent plastic. And that certainly lightens this knife up. But anyway, this is one of the, I would say, top choices, in my opinion, for just a beefy, substantial EDC knife. And it's not going to completely break the bank. If you go on eBay and really do your homework and look around, you could find these as low as like 80 bucks, brand new, and as high as $100 to $120. Just depends. I know Midway USA carried the Manix 2 for 100 bucks, so just depends on where you're looking, your sources. A lot of places they are out of stock, as are a lot of different Spyderco models, but look around. But like I said, I expect to pay about 80 to 100 bucks or so on these, and I think it's worth every single penny of that. I mean, like a lot of different Spyderco knives, it just screams quality. There's so much about it. A lot of things that you can't even explain to someone. You explain, you know, why? Why is that worth so much to you? Why is it $100? What makes it worth $100? People who don't, you know, not around knives, don't have the passion for knives like some of us do, they don't understand it. Well, how much does it really cost to make that? Well, you know, what does the steel really cost? What do screws cost? What's the big deal? Why is it $100? That's way too much money for that. It's overpriced. If you have a passion for knives, you completely understand why this is $100, and I don't have to say a darn thing. All I have to do is hand it to you, and you get to go, okay, yeah, and you get to open it and go, ooh. And you get to feel that substantial lock, this ball bearing lock. And you get to see that there's no blade play. You get to start cutting things with this beautiful S30V stainless steel blade, and you get to go, you know what? Yeah, I get it. I get it. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in this video. So right off the bat, just give you some specs. Overall, open here, 8 inches. The blade is 3 3/8 inches long. Like I said, CPMS30V. It's marked right on the blade, makes it nice and easy for us so we don't forget. Because you have a lot of knives, don't you? You can't possibly remember what every kind of blade steel there is, so they put it right on the blade for you, just so you don't forget. How about that? Very nice of them, huh? Golden, Colorado, USA Earth on the back. And if you notice right here, there's a little bit of like a squiggle mark. Kind of looks like an E with like a little devil tail on the bottom, or an arrow of sorts. And what that is that's a designer mark. That is the mark for Eric Glesser. Eric Glesser designed this knife. If you do not know, he is the son of Mr. Sal Glesser. Sal Glesser is the CEO, president, the man over at Spyderco. He's making it happen. He is the creator of the company. And a very awesome guy. And I personally have not yet met him, but I'd like to in the future. I know he's very hands-on with his customer base, you know, and a lot of people in the industry, and just a nice person, because, you know, he takes the time to actually talk to people who, you know, purchase his knives and are interested in his knives. So very cool. So father-son kind of team going on right there. And Eric certainly designed a couple of the, in my opinion, some of the coolest Spydercos. The Manix 2 for one. For two, the Dodo. I know. Some of you guys hate that thing. I happen to love it. Huge fan. In fact, the Dodo had the ball bearing lock as well. One of the problems I had with the Dodo is that the lock was hard to manipulate. If you notice, all the Spyderco Manix models and some of the other ball bearing locks, they actually put somewhat of a, I don't want to call it a button, because it's not a button, you're not pushing it like that, but an external piece, let's just say, with some jimping on it that makes it really easy to manipulate, as opposed to just the ball bearing that's underneath. Now this is a translucent plastic, so you can probably see that ball through there, and that's what's actually creating our lock. There's a spring, which you can clearly see, that pushes it up into the tang of the blade. There's a cutout here, so it's what keeps the knife open and locked. When we move that out of the way by depressing this, okay, maybe see in the back there, that's going to allow our blade to close. Okay, and by the shape of the back, it also works as kind of like our detent. You see, when this knife starts closing up, the lock moves forward. That's because it's moving itself in place. All right, so not by mistake, all by design. Everything, every shape, every kind of turn and nook in the tang here, the blade, serve the purpose. It keeps the knife shut when it's not in use, so it will not shake open, and when it's opened, it locks securely. No blade play at all, any direction. Nice leaf-shaped blade, you know, very common in a lot of different Spydercos, very purposeful. You get a little bit of belly here, you get a nice acute point. You know, it's good for penetration. It's very decent for slicing. Spydercos come ridiculously sharp. This is no exception. Most, if not all, well, I shouldn't say all, most Spydercos come with a 30-degree inclusive edge. What that means is that each side of our edge is sharpened at 15 degrees. Okay, the industry standard is about 20. So we're looking at just out of the box. That's why most Spydercos are so sharp. We have a double finger choil here and a larger handle, which is very nice. So it's very comfortable in this grip. You have a full 4-finger grip, or if you want a little more control, you can bop up here and use that secondary finger choil. There's jimping on the bottom here. It's on the liners. This does have, I should say, full stainless steel liners. That's what's attributing to some of that extra heft and weight, but it feels good. And if need be, you can use this pretty hard. You can have a little bit of torque side to side, and having those full liners is going to help with that, keep the strength, particularly in the pivot area. And in all folding knives, the Achilles heel is going to be the pivot. If you don't have a strong pivot and you do any kind of twisting, your knife's ruined. That's it. You're going to ruin your locking mechanism. You're going to ruin the, you know, if it doesn't snap completely, it's going to be totally screwed up. So a lot of people say, you know, I don't like full liners. They make the knife too heavy. Well, sometimes when you want a heavier duty or harder use knife, that's necessary. And I like that in this particular design. So lock functions, fantastic. The blade is very functional. S30V stainless is one of my favorites. You know, there's ups and downs with every steel, but it's going to hold an edge very long. It's going to be a little bit tougher to sharpen, but of course, you know, that's just a skill issue. You learn how to sharpen better and it's not going to be an issue. We do have an oversized lanyard tube here. Okay, so if you want to put a big old lanyard through there, no problem whatsoever. You don't have to gut your 550 cord. You can throw whatever you want in there and you're good to go. Relatively low carrying pocket clip. That's what's sticking out of your pocket right there. Obviously you see, you know, the lanyard hole as well. If you wanted to, you know, put a lanyard on here to assist in the retrieving of your knife, let's say, from your pocket. Well, the hardware on here is kind of the oversized flattened heads on these torque screws. Polished up nice, just as little accent pieces. Pocket clip is set up from factory. This is the factory setup. It's a tip up right hand carry, just like a lot of different knives, particularly most Spydercos, and you do have the option to swap it to left hand carry. Because of the design and the lock, and because you need access to this, there is not an option to carry this tip down, but most of you don't care. You don't want to carry tip down, so it's not a problem. Of course, patented, well, I should say patented, since a lot of people are using it. The opening hole. So very nice, very easy to access. You guys are not, you know, you're familiar with all that kind of stuff. It's more or less for newer people with this. But the hole has a lot of benefits, particularly if you're wearing gloves or something. You can manipulate that very easily. It's very accessible in all kinds of conditions, you know, hands wet or not, wet or dry, cold or hot, gloves, no gloves, whatever. It's preferred by a lot of people because you just can't screw it up. It's right there to grab. You don't have to worry about thumb studs. One issue some people have, particularly in the wintertime with heavy gloves, is that you have a thumb stud that's too close to the scale and you can't manipulate it. Okay, so it's very easy to get to that blade when you need to. Okay, very comfortable, very sturdy, very good blade steel. There's not much to dislike about this knife. It is fantastic. It is highly recommended. For about $100, it's very, very hard to beat. Of course, a lot of people are fans of, say, like the paramilitaries or even the militaries for that matter. I like the ball bearing lock. It's extremely sturdy, and because of this design, it is much more easier to manipulate than, say, the Dodo. Overall, it's highly recommended. I really, really like this knife. It's a fantastic knife, a heavier duty usage, I would say, for an EDC blade. So if you're interested in it and you just don't know if you should get it or not, well, there's your answer. You should definitely get it. And if you really, really don't like it, trade it for another Spyderco, because Spyderco has something that I'm sure you will like. There's a lot of companies out there. I've said it time and time again, Spyderco gets the most press here on YouTube for one simple fact. They offer a lot of great knives, period. They happen to be very collector friendly because they make these new models. They make a lot of variants, a lot of flavors, if you will, of the same knife. They keep changing it up, and they do these limited runs. So people want to collect them. They want to get them while they can. And of course, it all goes back to supply and demand. You know, you have a lot of demand, very little supply, you're going to be very successful. So this is no exception. This is a great workhorse. I wouldn't necessarily say collectible item, you know, but that's up into interpretation. Pretty much any Spyderco can become collectible after a year or two because either they're not making it anymore or they're sold out everywhere. But as far as a functional knife you may want to carry and use every day, this is a fantastic option. If you are one of those people that you're really bugged by a heavy knife, please do look into the lightweight version of this knife, the Manix 2 Lightweight, or perhaps other offerings from Spyderco or even other companies. But anyway, that's it. That's my review. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.